Hey everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel, where today we're going to talk about advanced levels of acceptance. Now, there is no specific timeline of when someone gets to this imaginary elusive line called advanced acceptance, but it is important to realize that this will probably take quite a few years. I know many people who believe that they are extremely rational after a year or two, and that doesn't mean you're not in an exponentially better place. But there's so many scenarios and life situations and things that can go wrong that it really does take years and years of practice. You could argue it could be a lifetime, depending on how you're viewing it. But I would say probably 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of practice, multiple things going wrong. Before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button down below. Let me know what you think about this video. This is a video for everyone. You don't just have to watch people, I'm going to wait and watch it, maybe 4 years down the road. You can watch it now, just to hear some of the things that we talk about. So let me give you an example. By the way, a lot of the things we're going to talk about, most humans will not see it this way. Because it's not because they might not see it this way if they practice this. It's just the default setting, the computer setting they have right now for conditional acceptance doesn't allow them to see past their own biases. So let's say you have any sort of conflict throughout history. Take any of the wars going on right now, take any of the wars that's happened in the 50s and 60s all over the world, and not just the wars that you hear about in the media. There's always some sort of conflict going on in different areas. I mean, it's hard for people to even look outside that. You see something maybe on the news, and that could be in any time period, World War I, World War II, obviously with news back then and what they had in the newspapers and stuff and radios. And you can see both sides' perspectives. That doesn't mean I don't pick a side and agree with one side more, but I have the ability to understand why one side picks a belief system and actions based on what they were taught, maybe from a young age. Maybe they grew up in a community where the elders and their parents spoke about this particular belief system very rigidly since they were 3 years old. It's very hard for people to get to when they're 20 years old and they say, well, why do I believe that? This is not any knock against religion. We work all over the world. I have many different denominations of all sorts of religions. And I love speaking to people about their faith and their beliefs, whether it's spirituality or standard religion. But how many people who were born up maybe inside the Catholic Church, when they turn 25, like I had confirmation and communion, look in the mirror and they say, why do I believe in this religion? Why do I? Not my mom, not my dad. Why do I? That doesn't mean that when you have that realization, if you ever do, which most people unfortunately don't, I think a lot of people think they have that realization, but I still don't think they do. Because when you ask them, if they're open to have a conversation, why do you believe in this? It doesn't just have to be about religion. It could be about politics. It could be about money. It could be about social structure. They don't have any depth to what they're saying. It's a very superficial, repeated response by the masses. It's not, hey, I looked into these different religions. This is just one example. You don't have to do this. I looked into, say, Christianity, Islam, other religions and denominations, and I did my own research, and over a multi-year period, I decided this is the one that fit me better for my principles and how I wanted to live my life. I can think of almost nobody I know who is religious who had said that. Again, this is not a knock against religion. It's the same thing for atheism. I don't really like the terms, but I don't believe in any sort of afterlife whatsoever. I believe when you die, nothing happens. And obviously that doesn't make me sad and doesn't make me nervous. And I also know that I could be wrong. It's why it's called a belief system. It's not called the way. It's why medicine is called practice. It's called practice because you make mistakes. It's why we have, 300,000 cases of iatrogenic death in America every year, 250, 300,000, which means death by medical provider and or mistakes. Reading charts wrong, operating wrong, all sorts of different reasons. Misdiagnosis, it's called practice. The same thing, you are practicing a religion. So these are some examples of deeper levels of acceptance that most people, unfortunately, will never think about. Here's another one, too. I have my own belief systems about religion. I have my own belief systems about, love you too. I have my own belief systems about politics. I have my own belief systems about money and what I think. But I can see or try to see every single person's views on why they do that. So you speak to 20 homeless people and they say that you're in the rat race because you even try to make money. Although I might not agree with that fully, I can try and see where they're coming from. This is very, very hard to do and very hard to practice, because when you practice this openly with other people, the chances are you're going to be met with animosity and you're going to be met with you're an idiot or you're wrong. So you end up keeping a lot of this to yourself. and having a lot of, there's elements of loneliness to it, but you can't blame anyone. It's like if you go through an extreme cancer, a stage 3 or stage 4 cancer, lose all your hair, chemo radiation, you ring the bell in the hospital, and you come out of that and your whole life goes on pause with all the chronic pain, you're more than likely not going to see the world the same as other people. I've been to extreme suffering and death, but I have no idea what that level of closeness to death feels like and what that would bring to your perspective. I've worked with different OCD sufferers who have gone through cancer, are still getting chemo and radiation, ones who have had it and went into remission because they're older, loss of a loved one, loss of a child, whether it's from a car accident, just anything you can think of. I've seen all the terrible cases of humanity. I work with people that live in all sorts of different war zones, active and or lived in war zones, people that were alive. We work with people in their 70s and 80s that were alive and have conscious memories of maybe Vietnam War, Korea, Desert Storm, all the different things in different wars that people have. Civil wars, people that we work with in different countries from Africa, different wars in the Eastern blocks. So these are hard topics to talk about, because when you go to someone who has a belief on this and you say, hey, I agree with what you're saying, but I can also sympathize with the other people. Again, 99.999% of the time, you will be met with, you're an idiot, you're dumb, you're a moron, I can't believe you would support that cause. Trust me, I have very strong beliefs on what I support in my life, especially in the big three: politics, money, religion. Those are the ones that, I'm a firm believer that when you die, nothing happens. And it would be very hard to change my mind. I'm not saying I'm not open to the conversation. I'm always willing to listen to people when I'm talking to friends, but it would be very hard for me to change my mind on that. I also hold very strong belief systems on discipline and decreasing procrastination. I think that most humans, unfortunately, in the modernized world and Western societies are primarily comfort-driven and have extreme lazy tendencies. And I think they're always looking for a shortcut answer, which there is none. It's just getting up and doing what you have to do over and 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 over again. Sometimes you feel good, sometimes you feel neutral, sometimes you feel bad, over and over and over, years, decade, to give you a chance of achieving your goals, and then most people still don't achieve their goals. But again, I have plenty of conversations, and I have the wits about me from acceptance of understanding limitations, IQ, genetically, how they were raised, how stubborn the person is at the moment, what they've seen in their life. Have they been to a war zone? Have they seen this? If you're talking to someone and you're having a conversation about social structures, like let's say you're talking about capitalism, Marxism, and communism, in different political structures, different social structures, different legal structures, Sharia law, and you're talking to someone that maybe saw something in that area, and they live there, they're more than likely their experiences, understandably so, of what they've seen, are going to dictate the way they speak and how they view things. So, and that's an understandable thing. I don't have to agree with that. The main thing, the most advanced techniques for unconditional acceptance after years of practicing is acceptance not meaning agreement. It also doesn't mean that things won't bother you. I have plenty of frustrations in my life. I work at a very high level. I work with chronic OCD and mental health sufferers primarily 7 days a week, between all the one-to-ones and the webinars and the content and everything, and then owning my own business with my wife, and then trying to maintain a marriage, trying to maintain everything. We're trying for kids and all that. Like, there's just a lot of things and moving pieces. So I have frustrations. Yesterday was a great example. I wasn't in, say, the best of moods, and Erica, we were driving to CrossFit, and she said, are you okay? And I said, yeah, just want to go to CrossFit, blow off some steam, and get back to work. She's like, okay. So just, and that's just the way it goes. But typically I can pull myself out of that quickly because of reflectiveness and years of practice. And I also realize the main thing I would say that I want to go back to this, I know I already covered it, is the aspects of loneliness that you will more than likely experience. Not in a critical way of depression, which can happen if you have extremely strong beliefs about, I can't believe the world doesn't see things this way. That can lead to depression and animosity and anger. I know for myself, it made me very angry. I was very mad at people for being so stupid, but I couldn't blame them. It took me quite a few years to get underneath that and fully embody that. It's very easy to say something. It's very hard to embody it where you don't need reminders of it. Unconditional self-life, other acceptance doesn't need daily reminders. It doesn't need mantras. And it doesn't need you to constantly analyze, like, do I have this? Do I have that? About this? I've just accepted what I have, and I let experiences come to me. Here's another one too. This might seem like an off category, but like something I talk about a lot. When you have unconditional self-life, other acceptance, you're never thinking about the present moment. You're just operating. You're just achieving tasks. You're just reflecting on your life. You're taking experiences for what they are. You're trying to contain yourself if you want to have an emotional outburst. You're trying to vent. You're trying to complain, but you're a human and you're going to do that. at times. Even when you're recovered, I mean, that's what comedy is. Comedy is ranting, raving, and complaining in a comical way, but still, it is that at the core. So, you're not going to be a robot. Many people do not understand Stoicism. I've heard many, many world-renowned bestsellers, people with millions of followers and big best-selling New York Times books talk about Stoicism that have no idea what they're talking about whatsoever. Even that people that have Stoicism channels, I don't believe they fully embody Stoicism in some levels, because Stoicism is a foundational component of unconditional self-life, other acceptance, in my opinion, but it's certainly not the entire piece of it, because a lot of the channels I see that talk about Stoicism still make very rigid posts about the way must be and should be and this and that, and they're just missing that unconditional connotation and employment of those principles, but that's okay, it is what it is. So when I had to go through this long period of time, but like, if you ask me right now, could you get to long-term, robust levels of unconditional acceptance within a couple of years? Hardly ever. I never see it. You need practice. You need practice. How many people can learn a language in 1 month? Read, write, learn a language, and learn all the nooks and crannies of it and the slangs? Very few, unless they're a mathematical and they have that area of their brain where they're considered a language genius. This doesn't work that way. I've never seen that case. I've seen many people who think their acceptance is exponentially good, but then I just listen to them talk, and I'm talking about myself. I thought my acceptance was really good 2 years in. I was in such a better place, but I was still very much an amateur on that. 6, 7 years in, you practice that over and over and over again, you make some serious changes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Phil@ocdrecovery.com. Please reach out. Don't sit in silence. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.